The detention chamber hummed with an eerie crimson glow as Commander Drexthal circled his prisoner. His chitinous exoskeleton clicked against the metal floor, each step deliberate and measured. Across from him, bound to a neural suppression chair, sat Sergeant Lyra Voss, the human who had single-handedly destroyed 3 of his combat battalions. "You should be terrified," Drexthal hissed, his mandibles twitching with satisfaction. "Do you know what we pumped into this room 30 seconds ago?" Lyra tilted her head, her dark eyes tracking the commander's movements with unsettling calm. A thin smile played at the corners of her mouth. "Judging by the sweet almond smell, fear gas. Probably your species' neural toxin variant." The commander's compound eyes widened. Most species would be convulsing by now, their minds shattered by primal terror. The Zarathian fear gas was legendary. It could reduce a battle-hardened Krell warrior to a whimpering hatchling in seconds. It bypassed conscious thought, reaching directly into the amygdala, amplifying every instinctive dread coded into a billion years of evolution. "You should be screaming," Drexthal said, confusion bleeding into his voice. Lyra took a deep breath, her chest expanding fully. Then another. She smiled wider. "Commander, do you know what humans did for entertainment before we reached the stars?" He didn't answer, transfixed by the impossibility before him. "We jumped out of perfectly functional aircraft for fun," she continued, her voice steady and almost conversational. "We climbed mountains that killed us. We dove into oceans with predators that could swallow us whole. We strapped ourselves to rockets knowing half of us wouldn't come back." She leaned forward against her restraints. "We didn't conquer fear, Commander. We fell in love with it." Drexthal's tactical mind struggled to process this. Every species in the Galactic Assembly had fear responses. It was the foundation of survival, the most ancient and universal instinct. The Zarathian Empire had built its expansion on exploiting that universal truth. Fear gas, fear projectors, fear frequency broadcasts, they had weaponized terror itself. "Impossible," he finally managed. "Fear is biological, chemical. You cannot simply—" "Oh, I feel it," Lyra interrupted, her pupils dilating slightly. "It's there. The spike in my heart rate, the adrenaline flooding my system, the little voice in my brain screaming at me to run." She paused, her smile turning into something fierce. "We just learned to ride it instead of running from it." The commander activated the room's secondary systems. The concentration of fear gas tripled, enough to kill some species outright from shock alone. Lyra's breathing quickened, but her eyes remained locked on his. If anything, she looked more alert, more focused. "You know what the funny thing is? Your gas is triggering my fight-or-flight response. Guess which one I'm choosing?" Something cold settled in Drexthal's thorax. He had interrogated thousands of prisoners across dozens of species. He knew the patterns. First came the panic, then the begging. Finally, the broken compliance. This human was following no pattern. She wasn't resisting the fear. She was metabolizing it into something else entirely. "My species studied yours before the invasion," he said, grasping for the tactical advantage he'd held moments before. "We knew about your physical weakness, your short lifespans, your fragile bodies. We calculated a 93% probability of swift conquest." "And how's that working out for you?" Lyra asked, flexing against her restraints. The neural suppression field flickered, just for a microsecond, but Drexthal noticed. "Your fear responses are inefficient," he insisted, as much to himself as to her. "They should paralyze you, protect you from threats you cannot overcome. Instead, we became persistence hunters," Lyra said softly. "We ran our prey to exhaustion across endless plains. We didn't have claws or venom or armor, so we learned to endure what nothing else could. And somewhere along the way, we learned that fear was just another form of fuel." The neural suppression field flickered again, longer this time. Drexthal's tactical implants screamed warnings. The human's biometrics were impossible. Her cortisol levels should have triggered organ failure. But instead, her muscle tension indicated she was preparing for explosive movement. The fear gas wasn't incapacitating her. It was priming her. "What are you?" he whispered. Lyra's smile disappeared, replaced by something ancient and predatory. "I'm a human, Commander. We're the species that looked at the dark and walked into it anyway. We're the descendants of ancestors who heard monsters in the night and picked up sticks to fight them. You wanted to weaponize fear?" She laughed, sharp and sudden. "We've been doing that to ourselves for 200,000 years." The restraints shattered. Lyra moved faster than Drexthal's enhanced reflexes could track. One moment she was bound, the next she was standing, her hands free and her stance coiled. The fear gas swirled around her like a cloak. "Here's the thing about fear, Commander," she said, advancing on him as he scrambled backward. "For most species, it's a cage. For humans," she cracked her knuckles, "it's a goddamn invitation." Drextal's last thought as the human sergeant closed the distance between them with terrifying grace was that perhaps his species had made a fundamental miscalculation. They had assumed fear was a weapon. They hadn't considered that for some species, for one species in particular, fear was something else entirely. It was home.